Welcome to After the Pool, the video series where I take you through the realms of Marvel, DC, and independent, and I share with you my thoughts and opinions of all the comics in the current comic book week. I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you love daily comic book content, you like me helping you make decisions of what comic books to buy, and you've been watching for a while and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, guys, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and hit it now. So yeah, guys, not a lot of comic books that came out this week, but nevertheless, we got to do a show because I didn't do one last week and I felt bad missing 2 weeks in a row. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get started. So just a reminder, if you haven't read your books yet, you might want to go back and read them because at any point in time, there could be spoilers when I talk about these comic books. So now you're in the realm of Marvel Comics, so welcome. And also stay tuned to the end of this video as I got a nice little surprise for you when it comes to this series. So the first book we are talking about this week is Spider-Man and Wolverine. This is issue 3. Listen, I wouldn't say probably maybe this is the best story in the world, right? But nevertheless, it makes for a fun story. There's always been lots of action. Kari Andrews' artwork in this series is phenomenal. I mean, it's so well done. It's like a nostalgia trip. It reminds you kind of the way Spider-Man was back in the 90s. You know, you got that over-exaggerated artwork in there. You got classic costumes. And that's what this series is most meant to be, I feel, is fun. Now, in this issue, there's a little bit more of a serious moments between Wolverine and Spider-Man, which actually gives the story a little bit more depth, which it lacked in the last issue because they're trying to confront to each other, you know, why did Wolverine kill Peter's parents, right? There's a lot of action in here with Craven and some other characters, and overall this was a really fun story. The only thing that I have that is going against it, it seems like the plot is moving along kind of slowly, and Peter just seems a little bit whiny at times. How many times in this book did he mention that he got stabbed in the stomach and his stomach hurts? Dude, I get it. Toughen up, right? You got stabbed. Deal with it. Be a tough guy. But nevertheless, this was a great read, and I gave this one a solid B. All right. The next book is The Thing. Now, The Thing has been a nice little surprise here, okay? Always at the end of each individual issue when it comes to this series, it gives the perfect cliffhanger, and I really can appreciate that because you're like, all right, it's good, and then the cliffhanger is like, oh man, I need to read the next issue, right? So this is titled The King of Yancey Street Part 3. It's written by Tony Fleecs and the art is done by Justin Mason. The artwork is really well done in here, right? This is another one of those stories where it's like, you know, it's a 4-issue or 5-issue miniseries or something like that, and it takes place in a different time, and I'll show you this at the end. But we get to see what this story is about is like some person that's in Ben Grimm's past. He's trying to rescue, I think it was his niece or something like that, and we find out that it's this human trafficking thing that's going on. Ben Grimm comes across a girl, he rescues her, right? And then now all of a sudden Kingpin is pissed off. There's a bounty on Ben Grimm's head, and we get to see the Wrecking Crew come in and do battle against Ben Grimm. Really fun like action scenes in here. I really enjoyed that. But what made this book really good again was that cliffhanger, and I'm going to tell you this cliffhanger, so remember there's a spoiler here, and the cliffhanger happened to be where you got the real deal Juggernaut, not some cheesy ass X-Men Juggernaut character. He busts through the freaking wall and totally takes out the Thing at the end of the last issue, and you're like, yes, that is the Juggernaut that I know, and that is the Juggernaut that I want to read when I read my comic books, right? So awesome book right here. It was a little slow in some parts, but still really a lot of fun. I gave that one a B+. All right, next we move on to Ultimate Spider-Man issue 19. So very depressing that this book is going to be ending very soon. I think this is everyone's real favorite when it comes to Spider-Man books right now. I did most recently a Spider-Man video of what's, are you excited for Spider-Man things to come out, right? And this book has great artwork. It's got decent storytelling. It's everything that kind of like you wanted in Spider-Man. You got the family dynamic, you got character growth, and you don't get a ton of Spider-Man, but it's all the stuff that you've been missing in the main series. Kind of in this issue, you get to see more of Richard, and you get to see Felicia in here, and you get to see the revelation of what, spoiler, just letting you know, is what Venom looks like in this book and what he can do to all of the other Sinister Six characters. So this, this puts a threat in the Sinister Six, right? So kind of cool stuff that's going on in this book. And we're starting to ramp up towards the final battle here, towards the final story arc and everything that's going on. We kind of see a nice little truce here between Mole Man and Spider-Man. Some really good stuff and great character moments towards the end when it comes to Peter Parker and Mary Jane. This wasn't my favorite issue, though, of the series. I have read a little bit better, but I did enjoy it. I wound up giving this one an A-. All right. The next book and the last book that we're talking about from Marvel Comics this week is The Ultimates. This is issue 14. Now, I would say that this book is a little bit on a standstill as we are slowly approaching the end of the Ultimate Universe, we think, as of right now, right? But we're still getting introduced to more characters, and seeing their ultimate versions of these other characters is kind of cool. But this book really has to deal with the focus on Captain America and Hawkeye in here. And they're obviously pinned up as they are the bad guys, as we get like Justine Hammer, and we wind up getting AIM, and we wind up getting all these heavy hitters as they're trying to take out the Ultimates. Okay, and they hire a heavy hitter here to try to do that, and that person is Emma Frost. She does make her appearance, and she's very much her, I guess her personality is in check in this book, and she looks great in here, right? And you think that she's helping these guys out, but she's out there for herself more than anybody. And it was great. There was lots of action. Like I said, you got introduced to Wanda, and you got introduced to Quicksilver in here, and you got to see them, the use of their powers, and I had a great time with this. This was a fun issue, nice balance between story and action here. So I would say that this was my top pick from Marvel this week. I gave this one an A+, just really a lot of fun here, and I would recommend it. I'll be curious how this whole thing winds up. All right, so now you're in the realm of DC Comics, and unfortunately, I got nothing for you when it comes to DC this week. I think I literally have one DC comic that I read, and that was on that newest issue 1. I think it was like the Dark Tomorrow or something like that had to do with time traveling, and it's getting ready to set things up for the DCKO event. So if you want to check that out, what I thought about that comic, check out Worthy Ones. That happens each and every week on Fridays. Soon it will return back on Thursdays. And yeah, that's all I got for you. So let's just jump right into those independent comic books. And welcome to the world of the independent comics. That's right, guys. And yeah, I only got one independent comic book to talk about today. And unfortunately, I did not get a chance to read The Pale Knight, which I have to read digitally because my shop didn't have it, and I forgot to put it on my pull list. And Assorted Crisis, which I have a physical copy of, but I didn't get a chance to finish reading that by the time I had to record this video. So we're talking about Mark Spears' Monsters. This is issue 6 of the series, and yes, we get introduced to a new character in this series, and he's called the Golden Man. And when you read this book, you think he's a hero, but I don't know if he really is by the time you got to the end of it. It's pretty interesting, right? When you look at the artwork in this comic, it's always a standout. What you get in those on those covers is what you get inside the interior artwork. It looks really good. There's a lot of different plots going on when it comes to this comic, and I just really enjoy it. My favorite part of this comic is just the Slayer character as he is fighting the werewolf, and how he has to do whatever he can to, I guess, win and triumph over the day. But the big thing was about this new character that was introduced, again, the Golden Man, on how he actually saves one of the boys that were introduced into this book. Now, again, whether he's friend or foe, you're going to have to read it to find out. And you also learn a little bit more about Igor in this comic. So this one was a good read, and I would wind up giving this one a B. Oh, wow, where are we now? Well, this is that new segment that I was talking to you about when it comes to this series. And this is called the Classic Realm. Yeah, that's right, guys. For the fans of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s comic book, each week I'm going to take at least one comic book from that time period, and we're going to flash back in time and talk about it. Because I want some of the newer readers out there to get an appreciation of some of the older comic books that could be out there, and I thought this would be a perfect series to put it on. Now, I literally came up with this idea, honestly, right before I recorded this video, and what made me spark this idea was because I picked up the Daring New Adventures of Supergirl. This was issue 2, and I also picked up issue 3. Now, I didn't get a chance to read this yet, but by the time we get to next week's episode, or maybe the week after that, I will have a footing on what book I want to read for the week, and I'll make sure I'll read it. But I picked up issues 2 and 3 of this series, and when you look at this cover, it's absolutely beautiful. We get to see how, you know, comic books are back then. This was made in 1982, and we get to see the story really being told here on the cover, as we wind up seeing Supergirl, who is doing battle against this mutant character by the name of Psy, right? And when you open up this comic book, it just brings back memories. And this is kind of like why I wanted to do this segment, because it's like, oh man, look at the awesome artwork, and you can see the storytelling in this book. Like, there is so much story to be told. Like, it is so different on how stories were told back then compared to they were today. You go back to the ads in there with like bubble yum. I mean, it's just so much fun. I mean, we're getting advertisements of Saturday morning cartoons with Pac-Man, and just, that's why I wanted to do this. And this book, like I said, I didn't read all the way through, but it just has a lot to offer, as you get to see here. So very much a cool looking book. And I know a lot of you guys are asking for smells to come back when it comes to, you know, my comic book hauls and stuff. We'll do the smell here, right? We smell this book, and this is classic comic book goodness smell right here, guys. So good. So good. So there you have it. There's Supergirl. That is issue 2, as she is fighting against Psy. And like I said, I will have actually read the issues in future episodes. And there you have it, webheads. There are my thoughts and opinions on some of the books that I read for the current comic book week. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know all those comments down below. And of course, guys, I'll always leave you more content in the comments section below. And until next time, remember, support the local comic shops. Keep buying, keep collecting, but always remember, read your comics so we can have great comic conversation just like we did today. Guys, thank you so much. I'll see you on that next video.